Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're enjoying your day so far and the time has finally come. Formal and Dashy have arrived, I believe, as of recording this video in Texas for the upcoming CDL 2021 season, as pretty much all the other professional players. Probably 90% of the 48 starting players that we have in the league are based in Texas right now for multiple reasons, but mainly the one is the internet is much better over there, especially given the server locations that the CDL have, given that the majority of this season, or at least the start of it, is going to be played online, at least these home series, and potentially a launch weekend that may be coming up in a few weeks time, although nothing has been announced. This of course is a pretty big deal for OpTic Chicago, and we're going to talk about the impact this might have on the rest of the league as well. Intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new, as always I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. On the verge of 42,000 subscribers as well. Crazy stuff indeed. Scump says this a few days ago then, counting down the days until I'm in Dallas, grinding with the guys, no distractions, COD only on guard. So this is of course when he was announced to join the Paris Legion. He's going to be in Dallas, Texas as well. I think he is in Mexico for a while now, quarantining or something before he can go over there. I believe Zero is also going to be out there, I believe, wherever the London Royal Ravens guys are based. Maybe that's not exactly in Texas, maybe they're further north, but most of the teams are in Texas, and that of course has been a big talking point since everything went online in about April or so last year. And we saw this before the World Championship, right? How Formal didn't want to fly out to Texas for the championship weekend, and this was a big storyline at the time, especially given that Chicago Huntsmen didn't go on to, they didn't go on to win the thing. Of course, they probably weren't the best team at the event anyway. Of course, if things had been on LAN, it may have been a different story, right? But a lot of players flew to Texas. I mean, Slasher and Kenny being the most notable ones. Those guys flying to Texas and performing much better in a Texas location with that lower ping than they were playing from California, right? And Formal hasn't been, he wasn't complaining about it quite as much as we maybe saw Slasher do throughout the season. But as of late, we see Scump talking about some of their practice issues haven't been so good because there's constantly some, there's some complaints about, okay, like I would have won that gunfight on LAN, I would have won that gunfight if I was on Texas, this type of stuff, which definitely takes away from their practice and may mean that now Formal and Dashy have finally arrived. They can get significantly better practice quality than what they were getting before. And they've certainly still been looking very competitive with the Dallas and FaZes out there, but probably Dallas and FaZe are the top two teams, OpTic there or thereabouts in top three. So certainly they're still very competitive, and with a couple of weeks with maybe better practice, they could even be mixing it up more heavily when the season does begin. But yeah, Formal didn't want to fly out for the World Championship, didn't want to fly private, these type of stuff we talked about at the time, even though Hex offered to do so, and they ended up coming third place at the World Championship, which of course was a solid result given Dallas and FaZe were of course doing very well and very strong teams at that event. But you could ask the question, right, if Formal was in Texas, maybe he won more gunfights than he would have done if he was in California. Maybe that would have swung the tides of a couple of crucial matchups, right? That's not completely out of the question. So as Credit CDL Intel says a couple of weeks ago now, Hex says there'll be no CDL bubble for the next season, but Formal and Dashy will be playing from the Hex quarters because you are mandated this season by the CDL to have all your players playing for one facility at the same time. And that's obviously a pretty big deal. All the players have to be in the same place. Effectively, you're playing on LAN with each other, but online with the other teams in the online matches. And hopefully in a few months' time, like April, May time, we might be able to get back to doing some actual LAN events, at least for the major championships, the final event of the stage. The home series, I imagine, will still be played online. And of course, the fact that online matches are doing the seedings for these major potentially LAN tournaments is a little bit questionable, but certainly I think the format is significantly better than what we did see last season. But as we saw on the 4th of January, Dashy says, landed in Texas, someone get me in a chal ASAP. I remember Scump said as well, like, I wish these guys were here a little bit earlier so we got maybe more time to have some quality practice in with the boys. But as Formal says, new year, new journey, the move to Texas begins now. No more 90 ping, right? So certainly these are, these guys' scrims haven't been as good as they could have been if Formal had been on a better ping situation. And you do have to ask the question, what sort of different beast Formal are we potentially going to get here? The fact that you could argue he's been hindered by the online environment these last several months, by being in California on the difficult ping situation. And the reason why it's so bad to be out on the West Coast is just where the CDL servers are located. I think the majority of them, there's like 2 servers in Texas. There's maybe 1 on the West Coast in California. But the problem is if you're playing a team that's from anywhere not California, they're just going to veto that server. And that was the thing that we'd see last season, that teams would get a veto on each server and they would, veto the California server. Paris Legion, for example, who are based in California pretty much the entire season, had a difficult decision to make, and same with Slasher and Kenny and the OpTic Los Angeles guys. They could either play on like 70 ping to Dallas, Texas, where their opponents pretty much based in Dallas, Texas, were playing on like 0 ping, 10 ping, something like that, or they could play on like 120 ping over the other side of the states, and then their opponents were playing on like 50 ping. So either way, they were at a significant disadvantage in those online matchups, and it was maybe evident in Formal's gameplay that it wasn't quite as solid as it may have been if they'd have been on LAN or in a better online environment. And Kenny especially, we saw at the World Championship when he was out in Texas, Texas, he was dropping like 1.4s all across the map, and it was no doubt a significant upgrade to their gameplay. Maybe it'll be the same thing here for Formal and Dashy finally arriving in this region. As Scump says, thank goodness. Dill and Envoy, both 15 ping duo reply at the same time. Coincidence? Nope. See you later, Dill. Whole gang on 15 ping now. That is what's up. So yes, certainly should be a step up. As Kevy says, Formal in Texas, everyone's in Texas. Online CDL's about to be fun. I'm sure the content opportunities are going to be fantastic as well. So certainly some good things going forwards. And it's not like Formal has been looking terrible, of course, so far this game. But yeah, maybe not as good as he would have done if he'd have been based in a better ping environment, which he should be in at the current time. We can see last season as well here at GG Breaking Point. If this wants to reload me, apparently I'll have to reload it to Chicago right here. But yeah, we could see that last season, I mean, Arcitys had a 1.1, Formal had a 1.07 over the course. But if we filter by the World Championship, for example, I think Formal's KD was something like a 1.03. So not exactly what you might expect out of one of the best main assault rifles in the game over the last several years, especially compared to, well, some of the best ARs dropping like 1.1s, 1.15s in that ballpark if they're having great success on the map. And you could look at some of the results the last couple of seasons and say you need your main AR putting up those type of numbers if you really want to compete at the highest level, right? And this could be a key difference maker for OpTic Chicago in this upcoming season. I think Scump was playing with Bruce last night, so of course Dashy, Brandon, with the old men of OpTic guys, which is pretty entertaining. So certainly everything seems to be coming together. But it must be said, look, this season is going to be one of the most hyper-competitive seasons we've ever seen in Call of Duty history, probably the most ever, going from 5v5 to 4 versus 4. And honestly, OpTic Chicago probably need every advantage they can possibly get, or at least to be on a level playing field if they want to compete with some of these top teams, right? Atlanta FaZe, Dallas Empire, Los Angeles Thieves, I mean, Florida Mutineers are right up there as well in terms of how people are doing in scrims. You've got so much talent on some of these other squads as well, which could certainly compete. I mean, you're looking at a roster like the Minnesota Rokkr, for example, the players that those guys have. New York Subliners late season could be phenomenal as well. Can't really count out the Seattle Surge given the names on their squads if they manage to click. And every roster is crazy stacked right now, so it's probably about time that Formal, especially, I mean, Dashy I think was there last season, but then he went back to Canada or whatever. So Formal, he's now back in Texas. It's about time that's the case, quite honestly. And well, hopefully it puts us in a nice situation where we don't really have to worry too much about the ping stuff, because everyone's kind of in their own houses, but in Texas, playing online. And well, in due course, we might be able to get back to a LAN environment. I'm sure that's going to be a great storyline as well. But for the near future, it's the near best thing. We don't have to worry. He's talking about, well, California Formal anymore. And well, that's no longer an excuse as well to the same degree. The pressure is now on to perform, I suppose, and to prove that you are still one of the best main assault rifle players in the game, which maybe hasn't, well, it's been more difficult to prove for Formal these last several months being based out of California. But well, we'll have to see what the future holds for these teams and see how competitive they are going to be, because I'm sure it's going to be a very exciting season. This I also thought was interesting from the Call of Duty League. You'll have to clutch a 1v4 for $1 million. Which map are you picking to pull off the miracle, right? And I thought this was interesting given that, well, in Black Ops Cold War, we've actually seen a fair few 1v4s in this, like, early online environment, whereas in a game like Black Ops 4, for example, we never even saw, like, 1v2s. I'm sure you guys remember who watched Black Ops 4. Like, there would be a 1v2, and you would just, like, lay down on the outside of the map and just, like, well, just give up the round, right? You don't want to give up specialists and stuff like this, because clutching a 1v2 even in Black Ops 4 was so difficult, because they could just shoulder peek, hit the regen. It was so challenging, right? But this game, 1v4s are actually plausible, and well, there was a couple of interesting replies. Attach came back with throwback on Infinite Warfare, so this is of course a nice clip from way back in Infinite Warfare right here on this, well, throwback map, which is a pretty legendary up against Rise Nation right here. We also had another clip from Zed, of course, one of the only people to successfully clutch a really sick clutch back in, well, Black Ops 4, I think it was on Gridlock, as we'll look at it in a second. Place to getting hyped right here. Zed, of course, in the Challenger side this season, but this was a phenomenal clutch against the United right here. Kills one, checks the bomb, backs up, and hopefully we see some more where this came from this season. I mean, honestly, one of the most brain-dead things I've ever seen a United do right here, flying out one by one. But yeah, that's pretty much, you have to make mistakes to lose a 1v4 like this. And yeah, Dylan getting hyped, and well, we'll see some of these guys hopefully on the main stage again at some point in the near future. Another one to mention has got to be Loony as well. So the 1v5 he clutched on Hacienda back in the day, certainly something we'll revisit maybe on this channel, or the Breaking Point GG YouTube channel, which we recently set up a couple of days ago at some point or other, because pretty much the only 1v5 in competitive Call of Duty history. And speaking of Loony, a lot of people were mentioning him within regards to this tweet from Breaking Point. Who is the pro player who has impressed you the most on Black Ops Cold War so far? So I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts on this in the comment section below. I think a lot of people were saying Loony, actually, given how good he's looked relative to, well, expectations, I suppose, and that we expected, you know, Gunless and Octane to be putting up the big numbers on Seattle Surge. Seems to be Loony to doing a lot of the heavy lifting, which is very impressive indeed. Maybe one of my picks would be Dylan Envoy. I mean, like, every time I watch this guy play, I get more and more impressed about the composure he has, and the understanding of the game, and the ability to lead in difficult situations, and well, clutch factor and gun skill. All these types of elements really make Envoy an incredibly impressive player player to watch. So yeah, maybe for me, Envoy is one of the standouts that I've seen so far. But I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. Really helps out the YouTube algorithm know you enjoy this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well, and help grow the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always. Take care, and I will see you next time.
Another one there. There's one. Oh wait, yeah, he cut me.
And we flipped. We flipped.
I got him. Heard you on the flip.
Yeah, we spawned vents.
One's back El Mosh. Back El Mosh, one shot, and one shot me in the back.
Watching it right.
Get to green.
I'm looking your arch.
We're not green yet.
I got 2 in the back, guys.
They gotta split.
Hey,
Maybe long.
I think we flipped them again. I'm here, Tyler.
Wait,
I got him.
Is Mosh stupid? They spawn behind me. I'm turning around.
Yeah.
Yo, they're spawning my arches. I need help, arches. Arches.